being taught if that's the situation that they're in. And when you look at a country like Ghana, who has a total national debt of $341.8 billion, and just last year alone they took on $5.9 billion worth of new loans, and you want to know why you don't have roads and you don't have good classrooms and you don't have good hospitals. The domestic debt, so the domestic debt alone in Ghana is $178.1 billion. Now, that's the money that the government has borrowed from the citizens banks, from the citizens, that sort of thing, your income tax. Almost 50% of Ghana's entire income tax that revenue goes to paying their debt. Now, when you look at the stuff that Ghana is producing, locally Ghanaian produced, and I know we're focusing on Ghana a bit because that's where my knowledge base is, but if you look at Ghana's the locally produced, the gross product revenue, so stuff that's produced primarily in Ghana, 85% of that is the 85% of that is equivalent to the loans that Ghana have, just Ghana. So 85% of all the revenue that you get from everything that is produced locally, whether it stays in the country or gets exported, 85% that is equivalent to the loans that you have outside. Last year it was 70-something. Now it's jumped to 85-something, and it's going to continue to. And that is why we keep lending you the money. The more you owe, the more it is worth, the more of your gross local products are worth to us. So when it gets to a point where that becomes 85, 90, 95, 100%, that means every single cent that is earned from your produce belongs to outside. Now, once it tips over that part, you can't pay us back. We're going to come in like China did. China took Uganda's airport because they couldn't pay their debts. So what do you think is going to happen? You're at 85%. 85% of your goods that you are produced there are equivalent to the debt that Ghana has. And they took on another $5.9 billion worth of loans just last year. So 50% of your income tax is going to repay these loans. The more they take, the higher that goes, the less there is going into the system. If the loans that they were taking were building infrastructure, fixing roads, building hospitals, building schools, this one district, one factory, can you imagine if he'd actually put that into place and we had a chocolate factory and we had an African wear factory where the traditional kente was being made, because the rest of the world is crazy for African wear. You guys have the most beautiful wear, clothing and African wear in the world, the most bright, the vibrant, the best styles. It's beautiful and we love it. But you guys are subjected to this broniwawu, the white dead man's clothes that are being imported in. Whilst he could, if the government was investing in African wear, it could be sold to the rest of the world because we love it. Instead, we're getting the Chinese imports. The kente cloth is so expensive in Ghana that you're forced to use the fake Chinese imports to create the African wear. Can you imagine if your peanuts get exported to us? If there was a factory there producing that as opposed to it being exported, because it gets exported to us, then we repackage it and send it back. I wanted to sell black soap. I love it. Black soap is my all-time favorite. It's the only thing I use. And the Encator, I wanted to sell that one too. Now, to get those things from the women in the north, the prices were brilliant. In fact, I wanted to give more. But in order to get it out with the government taxes and all of that stuff, made it just impossible. It wasn't affordable for me to be able to then sell it to people who I know will benefit from it. So instead, we buy it all up, the government side, they export it out at next to nothing, and then we put perfumes and all these other toxins in it to make it a non-natural product, and we send it back, and you guys think that we're giving you something that's wonderful and fabulous and it's been retreated and the women are using it on their faces versus just using it in the first place when it was at home before we got our toxic little hands on it. Can you imagine if the one district, one factory went ahead and you had a chocolate factory? You would outsell the Swiss in a year. That's all it would take.
Megan, you can see it. You can even see it. I don't know why we cannot manage.